So this is Richard Harrison, and Richard has probably been on the same path as everyone else that's been looking at TPUC for quite a while now, and looking at the control that's been placed upon people, whether they realise it or not. And he's taken his own path. I've got a lot of respect for what he's done, because he's been looking at all the information, but he's made the decisions for himself, and that's clear by the actions that he's taken. So do you want to kind of explain like how you got into it, and how you came across the information, and what you decided to do?
Okay.
Yeah.
What really got me going was Robert Menard's video, Bursting Bubbles, I believe it was.
Yep.
And I started looking at the common law, and I started realising there seems to be like a two-tier system in which there's the man, which is an inclusive term of men and women.
Yep.
And then there's the person. The person is actually a legal entity, and you are actually acting on behalf of that legal entity. Now, it's actually the legal entity that has to comply with legal requirements, not the man. But if you don't know that, then you think you have the responsibility to comply to legal requirements.
And that's the nature of the deception is so simple that it's that first sentence you've just come across is literally it. It's like you think that you're obliged to follow all of these rules and all of these regulations, because they're called laws. Yeah. But in actual fact, they're not.
They're not laws. No. They're given the force of law because it's basically contracts. You enter into contract to do these things, but you've entered into it unknowingly and via deception. So when I realised this, and I realised that the private side, there's a private side and a public side. Public side is the person, private side is the man. And anything that belongs to man can't be taxed, and legislation has nothing to do with. So what I decided upon was that, on knowing that I have a lawful right to travel and use my possessions to travel, I decided that well, because when it was my vehicle, I knew that it wasn't mine because I'd registered it. Well, somebody who had bought it had originally registered it to the DVLA, and I had actually only bought the right to use the vehicle and become the registered keeper of it. So what I did was went through a process of just breaking those assumptions and contracts. And so the first thing I did was draw up a notice of understanding, intent and claim of right, which I served on the DVLA, basically stating my understanding of what the law is, and making a claim of right on this particular car. So that was actually ignored by the DVLA. So then I got 3 other people to send the same notice for me. So then I had 3 witnesses in common law, and the DVLA failed to respond to that. And so then I sent a notice of non-response and a estoppel. Estoppel means that they can't take any further action because they've actually agreed by acquiescence.
Right. Now, just for people out there that are new to this, can you explain what the importance of a notice really is? Because as people start to uncover more and more of like this deception that we're talking about, they find that loads and loads of documents that they get, and quite often that they don't like, happen to be notices, but they pretend to be something very different. So what's the importance? Why is it called a notice, and why is that relevant?
Well, a notice is basically a document which makes you notice something. And in most notices, for example, a PCN, a penalty charge notice, it is actually notifying you that there is an offer to contract. But people don't realise that that's what it's actually doing. So by use of notices is that, let's say for example you wanted to do something and whatever action that was, you thought you think that there could be something that could affect somebody else that they may not like or agree with it. So what you do, you actually you send a notice to that man or woman, and you say, well, I intend to do this action. Do you have any objection to it? Now,
and it's the honourable thing to do. I mean,
exactly.
in the olden days, if you had some kind of potential dispute with someone, what you had to do was you had to notice them. And if there was some kind of dispute that was going on in court, any claims brought by the opposition would be thrown out if there weren't notices that had been served beforehand. You couldn't come into a court with a lawful claim if you hadn't served notice to start with.
Yeah.
Is that not correct?
But basically, let's say you had served somebody notice, and they ignored it, and then you do it another maybe once or twice more, and they still ignore it. If you go then and do that action, and then they try and bring action against you for doing that, they have no leg to stand on, because they were offered the opportunity to say, hold on a minute, you can't do that because of such and such.
Yeah.
So basically, doing these notices, it means that if they don't actually respond, they're actually agreeing to your understanding, even if you're actually incorrect in your understanding.
That's right.
By the fact that they've ignored it, they've actually agreed to that is okay, and that's the case. You can do it.
So if we can highlight a couple of particular examples. I mean, you've mentioned penalty charge notices.
Yeah.
Now, if you take that at face value, you get it stuck to your car. It's yellow and black, and it looks very official. And but what it effectively is doing, it's giving you an offer, and it's giving you the consideration, which would be the terms of the fine and how much you've got to pay and when you can pay it by and what happens if you don't pay it. And then the offer to agree to it, which is simply to sign it and produce your payment.
Which is the basic parts of a contract.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Now, if you ignore it, you agree to the contract.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this is called tacit consent.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you can actually discharge a notice by actually sending a notice in response to it, maybe to question what it is, what its meaning, its definitions, or you can actually ask where is the contract for where the performance is that requires me to make any payment, or you could just basically say that I refuse to accept the offer, which is what you can do as a common law man. But remember that these notices aren't actually going to you, the man, they're going to the person, Mr. whoever, yeah, in capital letters.
And the person is effectively the fictional legal entity created by the registration of a birth certificate application.
Yeah.
This is the starting point, and the importance of the words registration, application, submission simply cannot be overstated. They are the fundamental basis by which these contracts, which imply a performance of a person, and then you mistakenly think that that's you. You know, this is how it all starts. Your property, your car, whatever your biological property, if you want, your children, your house, everything like that requires registration. If you don't register, then there is no lawful, even if it's implied hidden contracts, even if it's deceptive, there's no lawful basis for that to be established upon you. So the idea that you voluntarily register your property is almost like, well, it's the done thing, it's just what you do. I mean, for those that spoke to their dads when they were younger, well, you've got to get your car registered, you've got to get your children registered so that you can get the benefits and so on and so forth. This is the deception.
Basically, registration means giving away title to whatever it is you're registering to another party.
Yeah,
so in terms of cars, you're giving away the title to the DVLA.
Yeah, which happens to be a business run for profit. As we found out, the DVLA trades as a corporation, and that's evidenced on Dun & Bradstreet, which is a credit reference agency. So any illusion that they're a public office operated solely for the benefit of the public